California has many municipal and state debt problems, and they're borrowing more to pay for a fancy new train that's going to take people between cities that a lot of people don't even know exist. David Widener, you're here to explain to us the very odd fiscal decision-making taking place in California right now. Answer the question that you pose. Why is California borrowing another $10 billion when it can't pay debt that it took on in years past?
I wish I could answer that question, John. I mean, the reality is, there's two Californias, and one is one of the future where we're going to have these bullet trains that are going to take you from San Francisco to Los Angeles and back, and a leg of that journey will only take you a couple hours. These trains are going to go 220 miles an hour. It's going to cost the state $70 billion, but hey, that's okay. We're going to pay it off. It's going to be fine. This is all going to be in place by 2030. The state Senate voted to spend that money last week. But on the flip side, there's the California of the present, which is struggling. Cities and counties across the state are struggling with massive unemployment, massive foreclosure. You may remember that California now is the state that leads the nation in foreclosures. And we have all these bankrupt municipalities, and these are not small cities. These are cities of 250,000 people: San Bernardino, Stockton. So there is tremendous financial pressure on these small or medium-to-sized cities, and yet the state continues to spend.
So let's make sure that we're setting this up properly. The state legislature decided last week to borrow another $10 billion to fund this high-speed rail project. Is that right?
That's right.
So that's going to get people from what city to what city? Tell us what were the two cities that are going to be connected in the first stage of this project.
Well, it's Bakersfield, of course. I mean, it's just a natural choice, a huge, I'm being facetious.
Of course.
And, of course, the other city is Merced. Now, you know, the obvious reason that they're going to connect these two cities is that there's nothing in between. You could argue that there's nothing either at the end of this leg of the rail project. But the idea is to build this one, and this is going to be quick and easy in the first part to get done. It'll be the other spurs off of this to San Francisco, Sacramento, and San Diego, and Los Angeles. That'll be much tougher. But initially, you know, the first thing that Californians will get to see with their high-speed rail is a train basically across a bunch of agricultural fields and desert.
It's a pilot project, basically. And the idea is, in the long run, it's going to connect some big cities. But I think it begs, and the reason you wrote this column is it begs a larger question. Are the American people and are the lawmakers that we elect and the leaders that we elect prepared to make really hard choices in the months and years ahead on fiscal priorities? California is a microcosm of the nation, really. Our own, you know, the federal government has some very hard spending decisions to make over the years ahead. What does this tell us about where the American people stand on making choices about borrowing and spending?
Well, I think the thing is that even though we're seeing previous spending decisions come back to bite us, I mean, we're feeling the pain of this now, and bond investors in San Bernardino and Stockton and whatever municipality across the country it might be that's undergoing pressure are going to feel the pain and the services that we lose as a result of that. We're feeling that pain right now, and yet we don't seem to learn from that. We are spending on these projects that are big question marks. Now, I understand there's a vision thing here. There's planning for the future. We're going to need infrastructure, you know. But at the same time, we're struggling with what we have right now. Maybe we should rethink the scheduling of these things.
David, we have time for one last quick question, and then we got to go.
Yeah.
How are the bond markets responding to this decision? They've defaulted on municipal bonds. How are investors responding to this decision to borrow another $10 billion?
You know, the response we're told by bond salesmen, of course, is that it's great. That the interest is great. Part of the reasoning behind that is that the federal government is, of course, going to back this project with the other half of the money. So there's a feeling that this thing is going to keep going, and it sort of has an implicit government guarantee behind it.